pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
I'll have a cucumber pineapple ginger juice.
I'll have a extra hot toffee nut latte with whip. 我要一杯烏龍茶。
Yo quiero un latte de vainilla.
Hey, I'll have a double espresso.
No matter where you are in the world, or what chaos is going on in your life, one thing is certain, that you can always choose your inner peace at Starbucks.
Starbucks Corporation. Starbucks is a marketer and retailer of a special type of coffee. However, it offers not only coffee, but also bottled drink and fruit beverages, as well as food, such as hot breakfast, sweets, and sandwiches. It operates more than in 60 countries, and it has more than 90,000 retail stores. Starbucks went public in 1992 with a starting share price of $17 per share. On April 16, 2014, its share price was $70.79.
What's your favorite summer memory?
Stopping by McDonald's for a Caesar chicken snack wrap. Tender chicken and creamy Caesar dressing. Oh, and then having a coffee crisp McFlurry. Oh, it's so good.
What about when we sat under the stars holding hands and you said you loved me?
that was good too.
McDonald's. McDonald's is a fast food restaurant. It mostly provides products such as different types of hamburgers and side dishes, as well as hot beverages, sweets, and salads. McDonald's serves around 68 million customers per day in 35,000 locations, more than in 100 countries worldwide. It owns 20% of its restaurants and 80% of franchises. The company went public in 1965 with a starting share price of $22. On April 16, 2014, its share price was $100.83.
And now, let's see the ultimate trade-off between Starbucks and McDonald's. Who will win? We'll play it in 2 rounds.
Round 1. Fight!
In round 1, we will take a look at financial performance of the two companies. We will compare and contrast their financial statements and some items for there to see how they perform. First, let us take a look at the total assets of the two companies in order to compare their size. In 2013, Starbucks' total assets were just over $10 billion, whereas McDonald's were almost $40 billion. This means that McDonald's is approximately 3 times larger than Starbucks. This is reasonable since McDonald's is longer on the market, it is present in more countries, and has more stores than Starbucks. Therefore, in the first round, points go to McDonald's. Now, let us take a look at the capital structure of the two companies. We can see that in 2013, 44% of the McDonald's assets were funded by equity and 56% by debt. On the other hand, 39% of the Starbucks assets were funded by equity and 61% by debt. The reason for higher leverage of Starbucks is the litigation charge worth $2.76 billion, which made Starbucks raise additional debt in order to repay it. However, it also brought more risk to the company. Therefore, we believe that at this point, McDonald's is in a slightly more favorable position. The points go to McDonald's. Finally, we take a look at the two companies' net income. Since they are in the same industry and they work at almost the same profit margin, we believe their net income can be compared in nominal amounts. We see that Starbucks had a very low net income in 2013 due to mentioned litigation charge in which it had to pay Kraft Foods $2.76 billion. However, even prior to that, McDonald's had much higher net income, which is why we give points to McDonald's. So let's see how our companies performed. In the first round, McDonald's got 1, 2, 3 stars, whereas Starbucks didn't have any. Good job, McDonald's, you won the first round.
Round 2. Fight!
Liquidity measurement ratios. Analyzing liquidity ratios give us a few ideas about overall comparative performance of the both companies. Among liquidity measurement ratios, biggest change occurred for Starbucks can be seen in its current ratio. It has dropped from almost 2 to 1 because of litigation charges, which increased Starbucks' current liability. Since the ratio became close to 1, it means that they are just on the edge to pay off their current liabilities with its current assets. However, this drop is only temporary due to one big event. Therefore, 1 point to McDonald's.
Double kill.
Among the liquidity ratios, the biggest difference between these two companies is cash conversion cycle. Starbucks kept the ratio around 50 during 2012 and 2013. However, McDonald's cash conversion cycle was around -2 during those years. The difference comes from days inventory outstanding, because, as previously explained, Starbucks has more inventory that stays longer in the company, and therefore it has lower turnover than McDonald's. In this case, McDonald's is in more favorable condition. Negative cash conversion cycle is good because it means that McDonald's collects the money first and then pays its suppliers and holds money for a longer period of time. Again, 1 point to McDonald's.
Triple kill.
One of the biggest difference between these two companies in terms of ratios is days inventory outstanding. Starbucks had an average of 68 during 2012 and 2013, and McDonald's had around 2.6. This ratio shows us that McDonald's turns its inventory into sales around 26 times faster than Starbucks, and it is also consistent with the result we got from cash conversion cycle. This is a place where Starbucks should improve in order to become more competitive compared to McDonald's. Again, 1 point to McDonald's.
Mega kill.
Also, Starbucks has substantially higher fixed asset turnover than McDonald's. Even though McDonald's has twice the revenues of Starbucks, which is reasonable considering that it is larger, it has around 8 times larger net property, plant and equipment. Since McDonald's has total assets that are only 3 times larger than Starbucks, we took a look at their annual reports to see where the difference comes from. McDonald's has around 25 billion in net PPE, out of which 50% comes from land and buildings, and the rest from leasehold improvements and equipment. On the other hand, Starbucks has around 3 billion in net PPE, out of which less than 10% comes from land and building, and the rest comes from leasehold improvements and equipment. In this case, McDonald's might consider selling some of its PPE, if possible, in order to increase its fixed asset turnover. In this case, it's a draw. Profitability ratios. The long-term profitability of a company is vital for the both survivability of the company as well as the benefit received by shareholders. In terms of earnings per share, Starbucks is performing badly compared to its competitor. An average difference is around $5. Again, since McDonald's is larger, it has higher net income and higher number of shares outstanding, but its market price is also higher than Starbucks's, which means that shareholders expect higher earnings per share, and McDonald's is justifying these expectations. Also, during 2012 to 2013, Starbucks' earnings per share went down from $1.83 to 1 cent because of one-time litigation charges which led to operating loss and result in low net income. Again, 1 point to McDonald's.
Ultra kill.
In terms of debt ratios, there is not much of a difference between these two companies. However, Starbucks' interest coverage ratio fell from 61 to 11. This indicates that it is becoming harder for Starbucks to pay interest expense on outstanding debt. However, since the difference comes from litigation charge again, it shouldn't be given too much attention as it is a one-time event. Again, 1 point to McDonald's.
Monster kill.
Cash flow indicator ratios. In terms of cash flow indicator ratios, there is not much of a difference between these two companies. However, Starbucks' dividend payout rate explosively increased from 39 to 8,000. This indicates that Starbucks declared a dividend that is 80 times higher than its earnings, which are calculated by these ratios. Earnings per share of $1 and dividend per share of 89 cents. Therefore, Starbucks has stayed faithful to its shareholders and continued its practice of paying dividends, despite the fact that it has to pay for litigation charges. Finally, 1 point to Starbucks.
First blood.
Investment valuation ratios. Again, investment valuation ratios show a similar performance of the two companies. However, Starbucks' price per earning ratio increased from 27 to 6,181, which is again one-time event due to litigation charges. 1.2 McDonald's.
Godlike. Flawless victory.
Damn, I'm good.
What can Starbucks learn from McDonald's? McDonald's just-in-time inventory system means that McDonald's is using its current assets more efficiently, which is very important in the food industry. Even though the difference comes because of different types of inventory, Starbucks should find a way to decrease its inventory levels and decrease days of inventory outstanding. It can do that by revising its inventory policies or implementing a system similar to the one McDonald's has. What can McDonald's learn from Starbucks? McDonald's has significantly lower fixed assets turnover due to a large amount of long-term assets. Even though Starbucks is smaller and owes less property, plant and equipment, the difference is big. Starbucks generates $5 of sales per each $1 of net property, plant and equipment, whereas McDonald's generates only $1. McDonald's should consider selling or leasing assets that are not crucial for operations, such as office or some land.